Today, I'm going to attempt to visit every single English football ground in London.
London is the hub of English football. The UK's largest city has the most clubs and, of course, the most grounds. I intend to visit them all today. This isn't going to be easy. I could have tried to do just the 7 Premier League grounds, but I'm including all 12 FA stadiums.
Watford and Luton fall outside of London's boundaries, so fortunately I don't have to include them.
So here we go.
Our first stop is the closest grounds to my house.
This is Loftus Road, the home of Queen's Park Rangers, or QPR.
We're not really in Queen's Park. This is actually White City. Queen's Park moved to this stadium from Park Royal, which is 3 miles from here. And actually, Queen's Park is also 3 miles from here, so I don't know where this name came from.
The stadium holds about 18,500, but it's fully enclosed with no gaps in the stands, so it gives a great close-up, intimate feel.
Our next stop is London's westernmost football grounds.
I think we got off to a good start, but we have a long way to go on this challenge. This is home of the Brentford Bees. It's officially called G-Tech Community Stadium, but everybody calls it Brentford Community Stadium. I love that team badge.
The stadium was built in 2020, a year before Brentford got promoted to the Premier League. It's a little bit small by the standards of the Premier League, but as you can see, it's very new, very modern.
Because of the train tracks that surround the stadium, there's no chance that additional seating can be added, so this will always remain a small but charming grounds.
Next stop is where I saw my first ever English football match.
We've arrived at Craven Cottage, our third stop, home of Fulham Football Club. They recently completed a huge new expansion, but it's still the third smallest Premier League grounds.
I absolutely love this grounds. It is a complete classic. It's got gabled stands and it's got this wonderful Thameside location. And if you're wondering about the name, well, that's the actual Craven Cottage.
This is my favorite London grounds. Everyone should go at least once.
All we need to do is head across town for our next stop.
A quick bike ride gets us to the shortest distance that we have to travel between 2 stadiums today. We're here at Stamford Bridge, home of Chelsea Football Club.
Don't be fooled by the name Chelsea. The stadium is actually in Fulham.
Stamford Bridge has been renovated several times, the last in 1998. And it's been well known that Chelsea wants to have a new stadium, as Stamford Bridge is the smallest of the Big 6 Premier League grounds. But under the agreement to use the stadium, if Chelsea moves from Stamford Bridge, they can't use the name Chelsea FC anymore, so they have to build on this site.
The next grounds is the smallest in today's challenge.
I seem to be pretty calm even though I have 8 more stadiums to go and I'm 4 hours in. I must think I have this in the bag.
This is Cherry Red Records Stadium, home of AFC Wimbledon. It can be found on Plough Lane, which was the original home of the original AFC Wimbledon, and also the name of the original stadium. I love the story of AFC Wimbledon. Very controversially, in 2004, the team moved to Milton Keynes, 70 miles north. Well, the town didn't want to take that, so they put the team back together and they fought up from the 9th level to get back into league football.
What a great testament to a dedicated fan base, and their efforts even got them a new stadium.
We're now on the way to the southernmost stop in our challenge.
It's noon and I've only completed 5 stops. I'm starting to get a little nervous that I'm going to be able to finish this challenge.
I don't have a car in London, so I've had to rely on trains and buses, and thank God there's also been some line bikes, but of course nothing here in Croydon, the scariest place I have to walk.
This is Selhurst Park, home of the Premier League side Crystal Palace. Although they haven't been relegated since 2013, the competitive disadvantage they have from a small stadium will probably keep them mid-table.
Americans will recognize this stadium because it's used as AFC Richmond's grounds in the Ted Lasso TV show.
It's a nice stadium, branded very well, but it's a little out of the way.
Well, we're halfway through the grounds, but that was the longest leg by far. So it's about 1:30. We're a little bit ahead of schedule. I think I can make this.
Maybe now's not the time to get cocky. There's still a long way to go.
This is the Den. This is home to Millwall Football Club, and they are in the second tier of the English football.
This is the first new stadium built in London with short and direct exit routes that were required after the 1989 Hillsboro Disaster, where 97 people died in the crowd crush.
Millwall fans have a reputation for hooliganism. In fact, they're often heard chanting, "You don't like us, we don't care."
I was just going to get a sandwich for the road at Tesco, but I decided to go to the Millwall Cafe. It was really good, but put a little dent in my time cushion.
I called an Uber to take me to the next spot. It's going to save me 40 minutes rather than doubling back on the train.
Uber was always part of the plan, but it was 3 o'clock and I had 5 stadiums to go, including the next one, which was the westernmost.
This is the Valley, home to Charlton Athletic, obviously. It was built in 1919, but it was renovated several times. The last time to this form was 1991.
Even though Charlton is in the third tier League One, this is the 5th largest football stadium in London.
I guess Salvador Dali played center back for them.
I was pretty impressed by the Valley. Kind of pops up in the middle of nowhere when you get to it, but there's a ton of parking.
Now this couldn't be a Starstruck video without a rock fact. In 1976, The Who played the Valley, and it was the loudest recorded concert in history at 126 decibels. A jet plane is 109.
Well, we're finally headed back north of the Thames, but with 4 stadiums left, we're really cutting it close at this point.
The next grounds we're going to, I consider the biggest shame in the Football League. Well, we had a slight disaster with an uncooperative train, but after a reroute, we're back on track.
I don't think back on track was a really accurate statement. There was such a long walk to London Stadium after the reroute. We lost every bit of our cushion and then some.
London Stadium was built for the Olympics in 2012, but it was reconfigured for West Ham in 2013.
I think it's a pity that West Ham moved from Bowling Ground, a classic English grounds with great sight lines that had the space to increase capacity to over 40,000. Now they're in a stadium that was purpose-built for athletics, with seats that are further away from the pitch than any Premier League grounds.
There's been a lot of walking so far. Public transportation is appallingly far from a lot of these London stadiums. And a lot of these neighborhoods have been a little bit dodgy. I haven't even been to Tottenham yet.
It's coming up, but there's still one before it, and you can tell I'm getting exhausted.
Been at it for 12 hours now, just 3 left to go.
We're definitely falling behind, but as you can see, we did make it to our next stop.
This is Gaughan Group Stadium, but most people know it by its non-corporate name of Brisbane Road.
This place reminds me a bit of Craven Cottage with its newer large stand across from a smaller shed with a cool little gable in the middle, but it's got a pretty big claim to fame.
This is where Harry Kane got his start on the way for being the world's greatest football player ever to never win a trophy. So we have 2 more stadiums left, and they're both Premier League mega stadiums. You might have noticed my 1990 England kit that I've been wearing all day. Well, going into these last 2 stadiums, I'm going to represent. Shout out to my Hong Kong crew. Come on, you Wolves!
I was really starting to get uneasy about finishing this challenge, so I took another Uber to Tottenham.
This is Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, or as I like to call it, the Chicken Coop. This is the largest stadium in London, but it looks a lot like an NFL stadium to me.
That's because it was built to host both Spurs and NFL, and has an amazing mechanism in place to transition from pitch to gridiron. I've been lucky enough to enjoy both sports courtesy of a good friend from Hong Kong who works for AIA, the Spurs sponsor. Well, I got out of Tottenham without getting stabbed. One more.
You know, I really thought my rubbish knees were going to be my biggest threat to finish this thing, but I'm kind of fighting the sundown right now.
But I can't believe it. I'm almost there. Emirates Stadium, home of Arsenal. It's the perfect place to finish.
Emirates Stadium, I did it! Woohoo!
Arsenal is the most successful and arguably the most popular club in London. In 2009, the club began what they called Arsenalization of the stadium. I think they did a terrific job. No stadium I visited today is so thoughtfully branded. Like West Ham, Arsenal moved from a charming traditional stadium. But unlike London Stadium, the Emirates is unquestionably a football grounds. Class all the way.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm really proud of myself. I wanted to do this video since I started the channel, but I was always afraid that I wouldn't be able to finish the challenge. But if you want to reward me for my efforts, please like, subscribe, share, and please comment. Tell me about your favorite stadium. Tell me if you would ever do this. You know what? I'm gonna go home and go to bed right now. Cheers. Home.